Okay, so today we're gonna be doing banana pancakes because I have a recipe I've modified to make them a little bit healthier, I'd consider. Let's get into the recipe. 2 bananas, you want them decently ripe. You're gonna peel these off, make sure you don't leave any of those little strings. None of that, unless you like weird textures, but I get all that off, put it in a bowl. And we're gonna start off by smashing these. And one way that I found very easy is to use a potato smasher. Even though you can use a fork, it just takes a lot more work. So we're gonna put this in the trash, and I need to find my potato smasher. We also have our cinnamon, baking powder, this is homemade vanilla, potato smasher, eggs, and some flour. So first, let's go. There we go. And one of the nice things, it smells very fruity and banana-y when you smash them up. It really gets the smell into the air. Then for 2 bananas, I typically do anywhere between 4 to 6 eggs, depending on how many eggs I feel like eating. I'm not really the most standard with a lot of my measurements because you can just compensate for them. The only thing that really matters in the end is the ratio and the consistency of it, which you can just add more flour or milk to adjust. Yep. Then I prefer a very, very healthy. Call it a tablespoon. You can always do less, but I prefer to actually be able to taste my vanilla instead of just know that's in there. Then half a teaspoon of baking powder. This stuff is double action, so maybe a smidge more. When I make this myself, I never actually measure the stuff out. I kind of just go by eye, but I know when you're first making a recipe, I really hate it when people just tell me the eyeball measurements. I'm going to do another half teaspoon of cinnamon. Then we take this and you whisk it together. You can of course adjust the cinnamon and just the vanilla as you see fit. I just like going with the stronger flavors. And see, that's far too liquidy, so I'm gonna compensate that by 1/3 cup of flour. A little bit more. That was about 1/2 of a 1/3. But the reason why I don't want to give 2 exact measurements is you're not going to have the same egg size I do because I have backyard chickens, so that plays a role into it. But you're basically going for that type of consistency. And the more flour you add, the fatter and the taller the pancakes will be once put in the pan because they'll hold their shape a little bit better, and the less amount, the smaller and thinner they will be. So also helps with cook time, but I'm not trying to consume too much gluten or too much flour. Okay, anyways, you definitely need a drying rack. Very important so that you don't get soggy pancakes when they're cooling down. Nice big stainless steel, avoid Teflon and all those chemicals. And then we also have some bacon fat. So I'm gonna take a good dollop of bacon fat, put it in there. I'm setting my stove to 4. I'm gonna wait for that to get hot enough to melt. So once you have it in the pan, you want to get a good temperature, nice and fluid. Then I like to do 2 massive pancakes. That's a half. So now I'm just gonna let this sit until you see the top starting to firm up a little bit, and I'll show you what that looks like. But you should be able to go like that and get very little movement. I'll also show you a really nice technique for being able to flip this whole thing at once. That's what we're kind of looking for. You see how I can move around in the pan a little bit and there's very little sag. So let's make sure I get this in good frame. What you want to do, get a spatula under it like that. And we're going to do a squat and then flip with the pan up. So it's going to be like that. Perfectly done flip. Even though I might have been able to flip it a little bit earlier, still came out very well. And the pop and the flip, squat and the flipping is the whole point is you get the whole thing moving at one speed, so you aren't ever lifting with this. All you're doing is flipping it like that. You come up because you drop the pan a little bit quicker than you'll drop this. And on that, when you drop it, you're gonna flip this over. And it works very well for omelets or stuff that's gentle. It works a lot better than like that and then flipping it in the pan. A lot of times when you do that, it comes back down, especially if the pan's not a deep dish like this. If it's a shallower edge one that you can actually flip on, you can get splash out on this side or that side depending on how you land it. But you normally it splashes out because of the force. But the method I show is a very gentle one and a very good one to use for big pans. Sometimes you will have to go around the pan like this and loosen it up depending on how much fat you used. One pancake, putting it on the drying rack, a little bit more fat. I'm actually gonna turn this down a little bit. I think it's a little high. And as your pancake dries, what I like to do is take a little bit of honey, drizzle it on, and then douse the whole thing in salt. Because that's just me. But yeah, it's really good if you mess around with the flour to egg ratio. If you are okay eating more flour and your body doesn't react negatively to it, you can add more and then also add some milk, and it gives it a very nice taste with the milk and a little bit more flour. Over here. And of course, like always, practice mindful eating and try not to distract yourself with social media and just enjoy the food, enjoy the taste, notice the textures, maybe wonder what you do next time to change it. I typically go just a little saw motion. Some nice pockets in there. Hopefully you can see that. Taste. Really nice, really good. And what I was saying earlier, the drier it is, the more flour you use and the thicker it is, the taller your pancakes are gonna be. But you need bacon fat, I think is really critical. And I love the honey and salt. But experiment, make it your own. And when you look at it, that's actually a pretty good breakfast. Honey, salt, electrolytes, 6 eggs, 2 bananas, and now my robot vacuum is moving for no reason. That's interesting. But I really think the salt brings out the vanilla and the cinnamon in it. Frankly, food just tastes really bland to me, unless it's absolutely covered in salt. So right now I'm just gonna work the edges of the pan. Make sure it's all gonna come up and there's nothing sticking. And as you can tell, this is definitely done. Even though I dropped it lower, there's nothing really sliding. Down, up, drop the pan a little bit faster, and then flip it. So, you little kitty. Like that. And yes, I should have done that earlier. It's a little charged for my liking, but that's what you get when you're not paying attention to the pan and you're looking at your robot vacuum that randomly decides to turn on, move forward 5 feet, and then go back to its charging station. Anyways, great recipe. And I first got into it when I had a bunch of bananas that got a little bit too overripe. And it's like, let's make some banana pancakes. Anyways, the more ripe that you have them, the stronger the banana flavor is and the sweeter it's going to be. And I prefer not to add sugar into the recipe, even though I do drizzle a little bit of honey on top. Peace out.